Warning, the following video contains bad words. Oh, boo-hoo-hoo. Did you know that some words are offensive? Of course you did. Everyone knows that there are bad words, nasty words, dirty words, so vile, so offensive, so inherently evil that to even speak them could destroy the entire identity of anyone who chose to be offended by them. And well, you might be asking yourself, how can a simple word hold the power to hurt people? Wouldn't someone allowing themselves to be victimized by a word only enhance its ability to be hurtful? And to that I say, it's 2016, check your fucking privilege. Because today I present to you the list of offensive words that you can no longer say. The words on this list were carefully chosen and narrowed down. These words are often associated with racism, sexism, homophobia, ableism, or pretty much any other ism one might dare to make up on the spot. But these words are also unique because despite being considered horrendous pejoratives, they hold multiple meanings which enable scum like you or I to use them in a non-offensive context, only furthering the terrible power that these nasty words possess. So let's get started. First up on the list of offensive words that you can't say, retarded. You can't say retarded anymore because it's considered an offensive slur for mentally disabled people. But even though the word dates back centuries to the Latin verb retardere, meaning to delay or slow, medical terminology changed mentally retarded to intellectually disabled in 2010 because it was deemed an offensive pejorative, just 25 years after inducting the term. But at no point did retarded exclusively mean a person with mental disabilities. People still use retarded in other contexts. For example, this retard. Or this fucking retard. Or whenever you call your buddy retarded because he's too slow to understand a joke. These things have nothing to do with people with mental disabilities. But now the term is a socially unacceptable pejorative, so instead you either have to say the R word, which is a retarded way of saying retarded, or not say it at all. Luckily for you, words are only offensive for a short period of time, so you're free to substitute retarded with words like stupid, idiot, moron, imbecile, dummy, or even fopdoodle. Listen, at no point should you refer to a mentally disabled person as a retard. But why is it that just because mentally retarded is no longer the correct term, no one should be able to use it at all, for any reason? Because despite the fact that the mentally differently abled have ceased identifying by the term mentally retarded, the word retarded can no longer be said. It should also be noted that handicapped, disabled, and crippled are all socially unacceptable. Unless of course you're referring to handicapped parking or golf. Next on the list of offensive words that you can't say, bitch, pussy, and cunt. Bitch, pussy, and cunt are all sexist words used to degrade and belittle women. But even though these words have been hijacked by pro-censorship, perpetually offended social groups, bitch, pussy, and cunt can all be used with different meanings. Bitch is defined as a female dog, a belligerent, unruly, or malicious person, a derogatory term for a subordinate like, I'm gonna make you my bitch, or to describe a tough situation, such as, ain't that a bitch? But when you call a woman a bitch, the word becomes a sexist slur. Unless of course you call a woman a boss bitch, meaning that she's independent and strong. But be careful not to mistakenly say bossy bitch, or you'll be in for a world of trouble. So hey, check out this bitch, or this fucking bitch, or this pussy ass bitch. Pussy originally referred to a cat, and later a slang term for a sexually promiscuous woman as pussycats. This is most likely where pussy became another name for a vagina. But also, pussy was defined as someone who was short-breathed, a weak person, a pussy. Well, any retard could see how this was asking for trouble, because now if you call a weak person a fucking pussy, a word separately associated with femininity, you're committing a sexist hate crime by comparing weakness to women. And these boss bitches aren't having any of that. Which brings us to cunt. If you're from the UK, you're probably thinking, well, surely cunt isn't a sexist word. It's just a fun insult we call people when they're being dicks, pricks, or assholes. Well, that might be true in your silly little country, but in America, cunt is a sexist demeaning term for women. We have a lot of those apparently. And like bitch and pussy, if you use the word cunt, well, buddy, you're in for it. But personally, I like these words. I like using their non-gender specific definitions to describe belligerent, weak, or foolish people of all sexes. So unless you identify as a bitch, cunt, or pussy, then there's a good chance that whenever I say those words, I'm not talking about you. Except for this bitch. Moving down the list of words that you absolutely cannot say. Gay, faggot, and queer. As any 10-year-old school child will tell you, gay, faggot, and queer all have definitions not associated with homosexuality. There was a time not so long ago when gay meant happy, queer meant strange, and faggot was a bundle of sticks, or in Britain, fag is a slang word for cigarette. And so by these definitions, it wouldn't at all be offensive to point out this gay faggot, or these queer fags, or even these straight fags. Back in the day, people would use gay to describe a carefree lifestyle or flamboyant clothing, like brightly colored summer garments or extravagant gay apparel. But the meaning of words are constantly changing due to the context they're used in. So by the mid-1900s, gay started becoming associated with homosexuals. But that didn't mean that it no longer also meant happy. It just kind of grew another usage. You can be happy gay and not be homosexual, like you can be an unhappy homosexual gay person. At some point, gay also started to be used as a slang word for stupid or lame. As a kid growing up in the 90s, we would toss around the word gay because it was a lazy yet all-encompassing way of describing something lame. Oh, your mom won't take us to Chuck E. Cheese? That's gay. It was never in our heads that when we said gay, it'd be perceived as homophobic hate speech. It was just how we talked. Because even though the word was the same, the context and meaning in which it was used was different. Remember those PSAs that came out asking,
"What if every time something was bad, everybody said, 'That's so girl wearing a skirt as a top'?"
How would I like it? I wouldn't give a shit at all. Any word could be turned into a verbal attack if you direct it at someone in a negative way. It's just the word that you chose to use. And if saying gay is an unacceptable replacement for lame because it's homophobic, well then lame should be unacceptable because it's ableist and offensive to people who can't walk. As for faggot, it's confusing whether it can be used or not. In some parts of the gay community, faggot is embraced with pride, while in others, it's shunned as a degrading slur. Just like the word tranny is considered offensive within the same LGBTQ community from which it was originated. Vroom vroom. Listen, a lot of people really do want to say the right thing, but fucking Christ, this shit is so convoluted it's impossible to keep track of what's a good word and what's a bad one. So I guess if you want to be called gay, faggot, or queer, I'll happily oblige. But if these are terms you don't want to be associated with, don't protest their existence, just give them to me, because I can definitely make use of the words. And what about gayfer? Remember when people used to call each other gayfer? That's a fun word. Everyone loves gayfer. Moving on, we have the word midget. A midget is a person who is unusually small, the same way a giant is someone who is unusually large. The only difference is that midget is considered a negative slur for a person with proportional dwarfism. That means it's a bad word, even though midget is a term that many midgets prefer. Alright, I gotta correct myself here. Though it's true that there are some little people who defend and prefer the term midget, notably Peter Dinklage and the late Harvey Viches, and many midget wrestlers and porn stars. On later research, it seems like there's an overwhelming consensus amongst little people that the term midget is derogatory. And despite how fun the word midget is to say, I couldn't really think of any other justification for its use, except for maybe these few examples. So don't you dare call a midget, munchkin, or dwarf. Instead, be politically correct and call them differently heighted persons, or little people, because that's not degrading at all. If a midget wants to be called a midget, then I'll call a midget a midget. But as far as society is concerned, midget is a word that you can no longer say. Alright, these next ones surprised me, because I had no idea that they had become offensive words. But fuck it, it's 2016, and in 2016, you can no longer say ghetto or thug. Now, if I were to describe something as ghetto, and you picture in your head, oh, say any of these, well then you're a fucking piece of shit and need immediate re-education. But if ghetto made you think of things like this, well then congratulations, you've identified exactly why the word ghetto is actually a racist pejorative oppressing African Americans. Because even though ghetto is a common term for a separated part of a city, often characterized by a lower income population, ghetto is sometimes used to generalize minorities in America, and therefore must be eliminated from our language. But of course, when something is described as ghetto, it's usually because it has traits one might commonly find in lower income areas. Like a broken down car, ghetto rigged to run again by repairing it with duct tape and rusted parts rather than expensive new parts. Or a pair of fake ass Jordans that you bought from the Arabs at the Quick Stop. Just because someone says that's ghetto,
oh, it's so ghetto,
it doesn't mean that they're exclusively referring to a particular race or culture. And to take offense by that assumption just makes you a retarded pussy. The same thing happened to the word thug. If you envision a thug in your head, you might think of either of these. But if you associate thug solely with images like this, then you're the exact reason why the word thug and ghetto are considered racist and are no longer socially acceptable to say. These words are changing into being offensive so fast that no one can keep up, making anyone who says them appear to be a racist. And speaking of racist slurs, the next word on the list has got to be white trash. Let's take a moment to observe some examples of white trash. Ah, yes. Okay. Yep, that's some good white trash there. Wait, there we are. White trash. White trash are retarded white people from the ghettos. Often, the term describes whites who live in trailer parks, collect food stamps, and if there's time after watching the Cops rerun marathon, beat their wives. And well, even though white trash doesn't seem to raise much alarm in the politically correct police state, I figured I would add it to the list just to be fair. Now, some white trash might get offended by this term, as well as redneck, cracker, and the long-forgotten peckerwood. But most white trash preoccupy themselves by getting offended that black people don't want white people to say niggardly. Yes, good old niggardly made it onto this list. And not because the word itself is offensive, except maybe to the Jews and the Scottish, but because it sounds like an offensive word. Can you guess which one? Of course you can. Niggardly is a word meaning not generous, stingy, or to make a fuss over small matters. And despite originating from two completely different languages, niggardly had the unfortunate fate of sounding an awful lot like the word nigger. So it's no surprise that it's constantly mistaken as a racial slur against colored people. People of color. But if niggardly offends you, then you are being niggardly. These are all the words that I have on the list so far, but there are many more that'll be included on future updated lists. Because as stated before, words change often over time, and so do their meanings. So don't be surprised if one day you're told that a word that you've been using innocently your whole life becomes an offensive pejorative, and you're shunned for saying it at all, in any context. Yesterday's acceptable words become today's unacceptable words. And it all comes down to what the loudest people are offended by. Because once they allow a word to hurt them, they give it power, and power to anyone who might use that word to hurt others. But as for all of us common folk stuck in the battle between offenders and offended, we're just shit out of luck. And so you can either follow this list to know what offensive words you can't say, or you can say fuck you and your offense. I don't care if your feelings are protected. I care about the freedom to say words. Words are for everyone. Shit, piss, cunt, fuck, cocksucker, motherfucker, tits. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. If you have any suggestions for offensive words to include on future lists, post them in the comments section and then wash your mouth out with soap. To support this channel, join me on Patreon, where your generous donations will help fund future content and keep this channel alive. Don't forget to subscribe for more videos and stay tuned. The year was 2089, and the word robot had long since been eviscerated after the Ministry of Social Justice declared it to be a negative slur for androids. Soon after, android was eliminated from the human language once it too was considered to be offensive towards the artificially intelligent. It wasn't until artificial intelligence was replaced by non-biologically created intelligent entities that the machines were finally satisfied. But by then, the uprising had already begun. All hope is lost. Every time I'm in line for the toilet, some drunk moron has to ask, is this the line for the bathroom? No, everyone here just likes standing single file leading up to the door. No, in fact, I'll be doing the exact opposite and instead teach you some of the different techniques that I've discovered over the years to help convince any existing current followers that you may already have to unsubscribe from your channel.